All right, so we've got a lot to cover today, a lot happening around the world, 5 big stories to get through. So consider this your express lane to staying up to date.
Yeah, absolutely. We've sifted through quite a few sources, actually, to try to bring you the really important bits, the things that, matter.
Great. So first up, let's look at what's going on with U.S.-Japan trade. From what I'm seeing, President Trump says that Japan is sending a top team over to negotiate. This is following the U.S. slapping a 24% reciprocal tariff on them. What's the story here?
Well, yeah, it's basically a tit for tat. The U.S. is imposing this 24% tax on certain Japanese goods, and they're framing it as, kind of mirroring what they see as existing trade barriers.
Right, right.
And Trump specifically called out cars,
Yeah.
saying the U.S. imports a lot of Japanese vehicles, and it's not a balanced situation.
Hmm.
He's pushing for what he calls tough but fair parameters with other countries when it comes to trade.
Interesting. So, I mean, this could really impact prices, right, for consumers like us. Could make certain goods harder to come by.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
If these tariffs stick and trade relations don't smooth out, there could be a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see how it plays out.
Okay, so moving on to a very different kind of situation. The latest reports out of Gaza.
Yeah.
The Gaza Health Ministry is saying that over 50,752 Palestinians have died since the war began, which is, like 18 months ago now? Over 115,475 injured. Those are some really hard numbers.
Yeah, it's a bleak picture for sure. And they're saying over half of those killed, more than half, were women and children.
Wow.
And just in the last 24 hours alone, they recorded 57 deaths and 137 injuries, all due to Israeli airstrikes. It just underscores the immense human cost of this conflict. It's not just numbers on a page. It's real people, real lives being shattered.
It's heavy stuff. All right, let's shift gears a bit and look at this is more about potential global concerns. Chinese seismologists are out with a new study. They say there's a heightened risk of really big earthquakes, magnitude 8 in China and the surrounding areas. What's behind this?
Right. So what they found, and I think this is really interesting, is that there seems to be a connection between seismic activity and, those tiny little changes in the Earth's rotation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they identified 6 major periods where the conditions kind of line up. And they're saying during these periods, the likelihood of a significant earthquake, like a magnitude 8, increases.
So they're basically saying that we need to look at broader planetary forces when we try to assess earthquake risk.
Exactly, yeah. And this research was published in a journal called Geodesy and Geodynamics, if anyone wants to look it up.
Okay. From earthquakes to, earthquakes in the stock market, let's talk about those wild swings we've seen lately, particularly in the U.S. The Dow Jones, for example, went up almost 2,600 points in one day, just to drop back down by 1,600 points later on. It was a roller coaster.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the initial jump, the big surge upward, that was all fueled by reports that President Trump might be thinking about hitting pause on those reciprocal tariffs for 90 days.
So basically a trade ceasefire, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. The cooling off period. And the markets loves it. They ate it up.
But then the denial from the White House sent things tumbling.
Right. The minute the White House said, nope, not true, the market corrected itself. And that just shows how, how sensitive investors are to anything about trade, any whispers about potential changes to trade policy.
Because it has such a big impact on the economy.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so last but certainly not least, we've got some really fascinating, potentially even groundbreaking research. This one's about the amino acid tryptophan. It's in our bodies, and get this, some scientists are saying it might actually process information faster than quantum computers. I mean, that sounds wild.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing. So this guy, Philip Currian, he did this study, and he found that tryptophan, which, by the way, it absorbs UV light, that's part of it, it can form these networks.
Okay.
And these networks, they can transmit information millions of times faster than, our conventional processing methods. It's, that's pretty astonishing.
Yeah, I can imagine. And there's even the suggestion that these networks, they might operate kind of like quantum computers, but without the need for all that supercooling. Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's a big deal because it suggests that maybe, just maybe, there are these quantum-like processes happening all around us, maybe even inside our own bodies. and we're just starting to scratch the surface.
Wow, it's incredible to think about. So, in a short span of time, we've gone from trade wars to the tragedy in Gaza, from earthquake science to market madness, and even to the possibility of, well, the quantum world existing within an amino acid.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
But it really highlights the speed and the interconnectedness of everything, from those knee-jerk reactions in the markets to whispers about trade deals to these fundamental discoveries about, the building blocks of life itself. It's all connected. And who knows what other frontiers are out there just waiting to be discovered.
That's a great point. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.
See you then.